In our breaking story today, the European Union shocks both Trump and Putin with a proposed plan that could radically change the specter of the war in Ukraine. Now, today's featured story comes amidst, well, dangerously lethargic presidential political posturing.
So I think we'll get that done, but that's turned out to be the toughest one. I'm so disappointed in President Putin. I thought he would get this thing over with. He should have had that war done in a week. And I said to him, you don't look good. You're 4 years fighting a war that should have taken a week. Are you a paper tiger? And it's a shame, but I think eventually we'll get that one done just like...
Now, as you are about to see in our breaking story, as reported earlier by the Wall Street Journal, the EU may well have a brilliant, game-changing strategy up their sleeve that could hit Russia where it really hurts in their continuing conflict in Ukraine.
Very much looking forward to it.
That's a good way to do it.
US President Donald Trump stunned Moscow, claiming Ukraine could take back all Russian-held territories. He slammed Russia's war effort as aimless and a paper tiger, marking a dramatic reversal from his pro-Russia stance just a month ago.
I think so. They're very enthusiastic in a lot of ways. It's been a terrible war, should have ended, and Russia should have stopped it. But they've been 3.5 years and they've gotten not so far. So we'll see what happens. But the other side can fight too, and they've proven that. Maybe it could be that Russia's a paper tiger. I don't know what they are, but 3.5 years of fighting and killing everybody, of killing 7,000 people a week for nothing.
Speaking after meeting Ukrainian President Zelensky, Trump declared that Ukraine, backed by the EU, is in a position to win back its lands, rattling Russian officials and state media alike. The Kremlin struck back. Spokesperson Dmitry Peskov mocked the paper tiger jab, insisting Russia is a bear, not a paper bear, and suggested Trump's shift was motivated by business interests.
Russia is by no means a tiger. Russia is more often associated with a bear after all. There is no such thing as a paper bear. Russia is a real bear. Putin has repeatedly described our bear in different ways. You can recall this for yourself. There is nothing paper-like about it. Russia is maintaining its stability. Russia is maintaining its macroeconomic stability. Yes, Russia is experiencing certain tensions and issues in various economic sectors, which is due to the myriad economic restrictions and sanctions we face, as well as the global economic turmoil.
Well, Russia's money woes may have just increased by $200 billion. It's our featured breaking story today from the Wall Street Journal. Europe's emerging plan give Ukraine $200 billion in Russian money. The loan, which likely wouldn't be paid back, represents a creative way to tap Moscow's frozen assets without legally confiscating them. The European Union struggles to make quick decisions and wield its political weight, but it is a master of legal workarounds and financial wizardry. Now, Brussels is putting those skills into action for Ukraine's war effort against Russia. On Wednesday, EU leaders agreed to keep working on a plan to put hundreds of billions of dollars in Russian cash to use without Kyiv ever needing to repay a cent. If approved, the proposal would reverse a policy on seized Russian assets that dates to the war's early days. For 3 years, the bloc's leaders have grappled with how to put roughly $300 billion in frozen Russian assets to use for Ukraine. The EU and its Western partners, soon after Russia invaded its smaller neighbor in 2022, locked down the money which Russia's central bank had invested in Europe, Japan, and the U.S. Roughly 2/3 of the amount was held in Belgium-based Euroclear, a financial clearinghouse. The problem EU officials faced was finding a way to use the money without confiscating it, a move which, though legal, many leaders felt raised too many political and financial risks. Europeans also wanted to avoid saddling Kyiv with an obligation to eventually repay a vast sum. To immobilize the money, the EU imposed sanctions forbidding Euroclear from repaying Russia, but the bloc wouldn't go as far as appropriating the assets. Debates over how to handle the assets intensified recently, but officials reportedly recoiled from seizing the money. The EU so far has only siphoned off the interest earned by the Russian assets to help Ukraine, a relatively small step that took months to put into motion. But the calculus changed due to worsening Russian attacks on Ukraine, reduced U.S. support for Kyiv, and new Russian threats to Europe itself. Legal and political challenges remain, but technocrats at the European Commission, the EU's executive arm, are confident in their financial engineering. During an EU summit on Wednesday, leaders discussed the plan with the idea winning support from bloc heavyweights, France and Germany, according to officials involved in the discussion. However, Belgium, whose approval is critical because it hosts Euroclear, reiterated concerns about the plan and sought assurances that its financial interests would be protected. Earlier, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, who hosted the summit, told reporters that the bloc sees financial support to Ukraine as critical, and I think the idea from the Commission is actually a good way forward, she said. Russia, meanwhile, has warned it would retaliate if the funds were confiscated. The message is clear. Russia has to understand that Ukraine's partners, including its European partners, have the will and the means to continue supporting it until a just and lasting peace is achieved, said European Council President Antonio Costa in a news conference after the meeting. Officials hope to start giving Ukraine new money early next year, assuming they can overcome remaining political hurdles. The cash will be vital. So while conflicts between the Russians, Ukrainians, and their nervous neighbors in Europe escalate, well, at least we can rest assured a steady hand is on the wheel in Washington.
No government or social system is so evil that its people must be considered as lacking in virtue.
Oops, sorry, my bad. Wrong presidential steady hand. I was referring to this one.
A submarine or two, I won't say about the two, over to the coast of Russia, just to be careful, because we can't let people throw around that word. I call it the N-word. There are two N-words, and you can't use either of them.